Hey everybody, we back again.
We back.
I'm Spencer, and of course we have our licensed clinical therapist, Naz.
Dr. Nas. Yep, you said it. Oh, it's doing something. The Zoom thing.
What?
I think it thought this was a thumbs up. Forget it. I'm sorry.
Glad we could
Continue.
do that.
Yep.
This is the Different Spectrums podcast, where we talk about movies, shows, and the mental health aspects that surround them. We also like to have some laughs, so don't take us too seriously.
Or do. It's up to you.
You
Doctor,
messed that line up that you've done 80,000 times. Thank you very much. Also, don't forget to run up those likes for us. We'd really appreciate it. So, before we get into the nitty gritty, as they like to call it, we have a special guest today. They are a licensed psychologist in Florida, also a Jewish LGBTQ plus mental health and BIPOC empowerment collaborator. Please welcome Dr. Dani Rosenkrantz to the show.
Hello. Happy to be here today.
Woo!
Hello, my precious.
God, every time.
That's a little scary.
Yeah.
But it is Halloween week, so maybe
he does that in April, May. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I was at dinner with coworkers yesterday. Hello, Clarice. What?
Not even dressed up as Hannibal Lecter. That's the problem.
No.
You were dressed up as a doctor.
They look tasty. All right, I'm done.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us today. And so today we are going to be talking about the movie Luca. Yes.
Luca.
Yes. So some things that we're going to be talking about today is authenticity, generational trauma, parents being worried, and being overprotective, also some anxiety, discrimination, race and equity, and also what it means to have an uphill battle based on those things. So we have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to get into it. Naz, anything before we get into the show?
A lot. What rapper is this? He always says a lot. Something, a lot.
21 Savage.
That is 21? 21.
Yeah, 21.
A lot. Now I'm excited to do this and to talk to Dr. Dani today and get some of their insights. Also, it was fun to laugh with them earlier, so this should be another good podcast. This is not a Monday podcast, Doc. This is Thursday. A little bit more serious. Yeah,
buttoned up.
But button it up now. Button it up.
But not too much.
Nope. No casual Mondays here. All business Thursdays.
Casual Monday. I like that. Idiot Monday. We're going to have to name it something. Yeah.
Is it a special day that we're idiots? Or
Maleficent
we're idiots
Monday?
all the time?
I don't know.
It's just a Monday for us.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there that song Manic Monday? I feel like it's just, your Manic Monday podcast.
We're going to do something with like low IQ though. So, yeah,
we're going to be trademarking Manic Monday.
So. Manic Monday, Disturbed Monday. We'll figure it out. Whatever.
Disturbed Monday.
I don't know my letters. I know.
My letters.
Not great alliteration.
No.
Hey, if I can't spell it, I don't have to say it. Alliteration. Spell
it. A little what?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different topics in this. So there will be some serious and some actual psychoeducation today. Excited to talk about once again, obviously autism, queer folk, trans folk, and then just masking just in general. And then kind of the visual effects of the colorful expression at the end of it. And then seeing other humans then be freed after that as well. I think that's the most impactful thing for me is seeing the other folks in the community now get healing from these young children and also the allyship. So we're going to get into it. We're going to have some fun today. Me and Spence are going to bring the idiocy, and then we're going to leave it up to Doc to make sure that you're baptizing us with the good stuff. Okay.
Well, I can't say I know much about baptizing, but
just throw some water on us. This is the same thing.
I've heard about that, but I'm not totally sure.
Who got the Kool-Aid? It's such a show. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
Am I supposed to whoop whoop?
Yep.
Whoop, whoop.
There it is.
There it is.
I love like the instant anxiety that comes from doing that. It's just what the I'm looking at me.
Are they all looking? Okay.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our show today. We just wanted to take some time to give a special shout out to our collaborator, Cat and Raven Design. They are a small queer-owned business that specializes in LGBTQ plus pride soaps. They have great designs, some that even look good to eat, but don't. You can get 10% off your entire order if you use the code DSP or go to our link tree. Help support this great small business and help give back to a great community.
Per mille cavoli, Guido! Faster! Eat! Idiota! Più veloce!
Hey, that's not allowed!
He's done!
Done!
He's gotta be here somewhere.
Thirsty? Water anyone?
Please stop! Again!
That's it! That's it! Luca, stop!
Sorry, Mom! Sorry, Dad! I have to do this!
Get back here right now!
Wow, he's fast. Oops, scusa.
Oh, can't you unlucky? Downhill!
Julia, you never even made it to the downhill. Impossibile! It's cheating! Arbitro! Arbitro!
Huh? No, 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 no! Oh, not now! Come on, come on! I'm so close!
You stay right there!
Alberto!
I'm coming for you! What's wrong, Piccoletto? Afraid of a little rain? Hey! Huh? For the last time, you two don't belong here. Get out of my town! Sea monster! Right there! Mamma mia! Ciccio! Fire pool! Veloce!
Alberto!
No, stop. Just stay there. You're still okay.
Andiamo!
Alberto, wait! No! Santa ricotta.
Whoa! You really are crazy!
Learned it from you! Let's get to the water!
No! Ciccio! Here it is! Hey there. Jesus! Out of the way!
Luca!
You should have left when I told you. Now, I gotta kill some sea monsters!
So long, evil empire of injustice! No!
Julia!
Mostri marini, give me that!
Julia, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thanks, guys.
Giulietta?
Papa,
Look at them. You're not going anywhere. Come on. I saw them first. The reward is mine.
We're not afraid of you.
No, but we're afraid of you. Everyone is horrified and disgusted by you because you are monsters.
Stop! They're not monsters!
Oh, yeah? Who are they then?
I know who they are. They are Luca and Alberto. And they are the winners.
Luca! Let us through!
What?
Really? They can't be the winners. They are not even people.
Signora Marsigliese?
Technically, legally, yes, they won.
We won?
Who cares if they won? They're sea monsters.
Non so, cosa pensi? Andiamo. Vabbè.
What? Come on! Hey! Ciccio, Guido, another harpoon! Ah, idiotic! Be useful for once in your pathetic lives!
Guido, Ciccio.
Oops! No, piccolino!
It's over. The reign of terror. It's finally over!
Luca!
You had us worried half to death, and you must never do that again.
I'm sorry.
And you raced your little tail off and kicked so much human butt. And I'm so proud of you, and I am so mad at you.
I love you, Mom.
Son?
Signore e signori, the winners of this year's Porto Rosso Cup, the underdogs.
Give me that. Yeah. Bravi bambini.
What he did today was amazing. But we can't let him stay in this world. Can we?
Some people, they'll never accept him. But some will. And he seems to know how to find the good ones.
Hey everyone, before we get into the show, please check out our collaborator, Bubs Naturals. They sell a variety of health and wellness products, including collagen peptides, MCT oil powder, coffee, apple cider vinegar gummies, and other amazing products. Go to bubsnaturals.com and use our code DSP20 to get 20% off your entire order. And with that, let's get into the show.
We're back again, everybody.
We're back and we're live. Just as live as all I can think of is tuna, because they're sea monsters. So they're going, they die at the end.
Tuna is definitely alive.
Yep. But when I eat it, because I just bought it. It's not alive. It's dead. So we live. Oh, you're right. I'm supposed to say how we live.
How many pods have we done and you just don't know what you're doing?
I don't know what I'm doing. All right. Start the show.
All right. So before we get into Luca, shout out to all of our collaborators. That includes Bubs Naturals, Cure Hydration, Pinfinity, Silver Dollar Candle, Two Nerds Candle Company, Cat and Raven Company, and then Toink Toys. Did not mispronounce that one. You can get up to 20% off all of these great collaborators with us if you go to our link tree and go click on the link, or you can put in the code DSP or DSP20, depending on which one you go to.
Yep.
So go check them all out. They're all in our link tree listed, so you don't have to remember all those names.
We don't.
But yes, and there is a reason why I'm looking like a drug kingpin. It was Halloween this weekend, and I dressed up as Walter White. So
I feel like it fits your personality.
How so? Nas?
You kind of, you're kind of obnoxious. You're intelligent, but you also stupid.
I'm smart but dumb.
In
the right circumstances.
You got a blue sweater in the background. You like blue meth.
Yeah, I love it. It's the best. It's the best kind of meth.
It's the good one
when it's blue.
It's the Fago of meth.
Yeah. So dumb. All right.
Welcome, Walter.
Dr. Dani. So,
Hi.
Could you please tell us a little bit about you and how you came about the show?
Yeah. So hi, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Dr. Dani Rosenkrantz. I am a licensed psychologist, and I have a private practice called Brave Space Psychology. And I work with marginalized folks, especially have a heart for Jewish and LGBTQIA plus folks like myself. But I also am here just to serve our communities. I love empowerment of marginalized folks, queer folks, BIPOC folks, Jewish folks, all the folks. And I'm really also very passionate about helping people find authenticity and helping navigate like the family challenge with that. So especially my work in graduate school was also very focused on like parental acceptance of LGBTQIA plus folks. And I live in Florida, where this is definitely a hot topic, particularly for folks who have trans and non-binary children. And so all that to say, Luca, I feel like, was this movie that I found myself watching and just feeling so emotional during, because it brings up so many of these themes of like authenticity and how important it is to be yourself, how that's like a fundamental requirement to like finding your people and your chosen family, and also navigating like the anxiety that can keep people in your family from kind of supporting and empowering you to be your true self, even when they have really awesome intentions of protecting you, that can also be really limiting. And there's tons of other aspects of this movie, but would it be helpful if I kind of describe the movie? Is now the time that I...
Well, actually, we'll get into it a little bit. I kind of want to know, how'd you find our podcast?
Oh, well, Instagram is a powerful tool. And I think, I don't know how y'all messaged me and were like, hey, I think I followed you, but you messaged me and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Because especially as someone who serves the queer community, like a lot of us have neurodiversity, and there's a huge overlap in the community, particularly for like trans and non-binary folks, with folks who are neurodivergent. And so, yeah, I think it's just, to me, it's like, how do we like create space to talk about the fact that we have ways of thinking that are outside the box and that bring a lot of creativity and awesomeness, and not just the struggle of not fitting in the boxes, which many of us experience. But that's not it. And I found that this podcast, there was a lot of joy around like, we're neurodivergent and we're hilarious. And we're going to talk about feelings and complications and all of that. So
I love a good box.
I was like,
all types of box, cardboard box, plastic box. I like boxes.
So does my cat. She
weird.
Loves them.
See? Yeah. Also cats, the autistic dogs of America or the world.
Of America. Cats are only limited.
I feel like cats would be very offended by that branding.
No, the American part?
They'd be like, I'm not a dog. No, thank you.
Oh, of a dog.
Just call me a dog, bro. What's up?
I thought it was
like, I am superior. That's how she would feel.
Dogs are the real happy people. So dogs are always happy. Cats, they're finicky.
I don't know. They're like very like they need attention all the time. They need approval. And I feel like cats are very confident and comfortable in themselves. They're like, I know myself and I'm good.
Let's just say here, like, I'm a dog person. All right. I'm a dog person. And like a dog will save my life if I'm choking, if I'm, if there's a fire in the building. Cat will save itself and not even think twice about me. The cat will be gone.
The cat will probably eat you.
And still licking its paws as the flames burn me alive. So,
yeah.
It's
a parallels there. This is science. It's actually proven. I'm joking, but it's not proven at all. The reason why I brought this up, I wanted to pause things. If you had a box for everyone listening, or if you think that you're supposed to fit in a box, I want some folks to like maybe think about that. Where are the boxes in life that people said, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the norm. This is what our family does. This is what our folks of color do. This is what women do. Whatever that norm is that you've been segregated into, I want you to kind of think about that and how this podcast will be like kind of pushing those boundaries. I always love the term outside the box. I use that in some of my Google Drives for students to look through, because that means that that's all like the weird stuff that Nas wants me to like either read or watch, or pick up, or all the like drawing things that I have in there, self-help things. Outside the box. We about to trademark that.
Outside the box.
Team.
No one's probably picked up on that one yet.
I don't think so. Otherwise I'd be sued. And then my autistic ass, I was like, if you were a box, what would it look like? All I can think of is food now.
Pizza box. Got it.
Oh, I didn't think about it.
That's not a bad one.
That's not a bad one. I'm a little greasy too, so. All right, let's shift it back into the Spencer's questions. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'd love to know, how did you get into the mental health / psychology field for yourself?
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people in our fields come to it because it speaks to something happening in themselves too. And I remember like being in college and very much just like talking about feelings and understanding diversity was something that I always was like really into. I actually have hilarious like journal entries from when I was a child talking about like loving to listen to my friends. They were ridiculous, like some of these things that I wrote in there. But I was like, oh, little baby psychologist, didn't know it yet, but it's in there. But yeah, so I think there was always this like interest and understanding like how people think and like what happens for them. I was also a really big theater nerd, so like that was very much like how do I empathize with characters and like people I don't understand necessarily their motivations, but like not judge them. And so I think all of that kind of energy ended up leading me to psychology as kind of a bridge between. I wanted to be in theater so much as a kid. That was like what I dreamed about, but that's not always the practical choice depending on your life story. But that in medicine, but I was definitely not loving the vibe of the medical system in terms of the competitiveness. So I started doing like research and stuff in undergrad. And I remember being like, well, reading research articles makes me want to stab myself because it's just so boring. But when they talked about queerness and sex and things like that, I was like, okay, now I'm interested. Yeah, so
you're talking about sex? I know you could talk about it. You just watch it.
Yeah. So I got into like learning more about that, and I had some really great like role models that were like looking into stigma and things like that related to queerness. And I took a psychology of like LGBTQ identity in college at UF, which I don't even know if that could be a class right now in Florida. But at the time it was, and it was awesome. And I was like, wait a minute, there's something here about me that I didn't know. I didn't have language for. And so I think that's also like when I think about the power of like authenticity, like you need language to understand how to talk about what the heck is going on for you. And so, yeah, I feel like I started understanding that for myself. And then as I just kept learning, I was like, I want to serve us and I want to help like empower the community that I feel connected to. And, yeah, so that's kind of some of how I ended up in this space. I also was really passionate about my identity as a Jewish human and learning about religion in general. I think a lot of people feel very connected to like faith and spirituality. And so kind of intersecting on that, I was really curious, like how are people navigating this, particularly when there is a lot of trauma and things like that that can come out of faith community. And so I did some like research looking at like what's positive about being queer and religious. And in that kind of started also thinking about like parental acceptance and the ways that like faith identity can hinder or improve connection to like supporting your kid. So that was another piece of this movie in particular that I was like, oh yes, it speaks so much to the experience of like parents like learning to accept and affirm and create space like to get out of their own way of the anxiety that can keep them from affirming their kid. So yeah, those are some things about me. There's more probably, but that's enough.
That's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't lie. The microphone and her voice, Spence. I'm just having fun listening, man. I'm like, man, I don't even want to talk. They got a good voice.
You take over the show. Thank you.
You got it, Dani.
All right, everyone. We're now.
Hey, I can listen to you. They hear me and Spence. They're like, we ain't listening to that shit.
No. It's like, what? What'd they say? What?
You're so funny. Thank you, though. Thanks for the compliment.
You're welcome. Yeah. It's all the microphone. It ain't you.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, I gotta keep it grounded.
Keep me grounded. Keep me grounded.
Back there.
I pump you up. I bring it back down too.
He just keeps me down. Doesn't even pump me up. Nothing. I get a little bit of confidence in myself, and he's like, "What'd you say?" Nothing.
I'll keep it good. Yeah. You bring out some really good points, especially. You talked about the queer communities and all that stuff, and we'll get into that. We've touched on a lot of that. I don't think we've touched much on the religious issues or identifying with that, and that's a big thing for folks. Is kind of the trauma that's behind that. It's wonderful for many, many, many folk, but also doesn't matter what denomination or culture. There is a lot of trauma within it, and a lot of shaming, guilt. Me growing up, and Christian and Catholic households, depending on how you follow certain things. A lot of anxiety and then it leads into scrupulosity, which I feel a lot of neurodivergent autistic folk, OCD folk fall into the scrupulosity. Scrupulosity meaning you are so OCD over the rules or the tenets or the commandments that you feel like you're doing nothing but sinning. And then it leads you to contemplate suicidality, or I just can't move, because every choice that you make is a deathly sin and you're going right to hell. And the only way to get out of it is, contemplating the end of life. That's the most extreme. But that made me think of many of my folks that are on the spectrum that are wonderful, wonderful humans, and having to break the shackles of, I'm not supposed to feel joy. And I said, why not? Well, that's like a sin. And I'm like, feeling joy is a sin? Well, yeah, no, I can't feel it too much. Just a little. Moderation. I'm like, moderation? What the hell? I remember one human, they're like, I was so happy this weekend. And then they started to cry. I'm like, why are you crying? Because I'm not supposed to be happy. That's a sin. I'm like, I think we're reading from the wrong Bible. This the wrong Bible. Interesting things. We're going to diverge from that. But that might be something that we need to talk about in a future podcast, Spence, is more of some religious tenets and then what that can lead into for a lot of neurodivergent folks. And this might be a perfect person to maybe do some of that with in the future.
Yeah, let's hang out.
That sounds, because we have not touched that yet, and we need to.
True.
All right. Spence, you got any more?
Just one more, so, being that you said you're in Florida, and you see a lot of people who are LGBTQ, Have you seen that anxiety rise since, everything that's been happening in Florida? And how do you kind of help combat that,
Yeah. Short answer is yes, absolutely. I think that many people, from people who identify as queer within the community to people who are who love someone who identifies as queer, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of just how do we exist, a lot of fear of loss of access to resources. I talk a lot about grief and like grieving safety, like grieving loss of access to spaces where it feels like we're empowering people who are different rather than putting them back in a box that doesn't fit for them. Like when it comes to like bathrooms and all of those kind of things. I spend a lot of time with folks providing a space where we can really name that that's happening and really provide a lot of validation, because that's not something. I think there's a lot of ways that we receive messages that like those feelings are not valid or real in our communities. But those feelings of so many feelings, the sadness, the grief, the anger, that are really justified feelings when your rights are being taken away, or when you see people, there was a trans woman that was killed in Miami a few weeks ago. It might have even been last week. When you see people in your community dying, it is really painful. And so I think a lot about how do we hold space for that? How do we encourage people to take time to rest and restore for themselves and think about how do we protect our energy? One of the things I talk a lot about is like thinking about our use of access to media and social media and like all of those kind of things. Are we like moving our bodies in ways that are healing for us, or just taking care of our minds and spirits and bodies in really real ways, and talking about what it would look like to use your voice in a way that would work for you. And I think there's no one way. Like for some people, that means you're like out in the streets at a protest. For some people, it's creating art, a podcast. Like there's so many, or just having like a conversation with family. Like there could be so many different avenues for creating change for yourself. But I think it starts with acceptance and space that like you're allowed to feel complexly about the things that are happening to you, and you're allowed to be angry. I don't think we get a lot of permission or coaching in like how to be angry in our culture.
No.
And that, but I fundamentally believe that anger is a really important emotion, and there's no justice movements without it. So, like we need it. So I think creating space for that and honoring that. And then I think I do a lot of work with family as well. So I have some like support groups for parents and even grandparents who have trans and non-binary youth in their families, and helping them process through like their own anxiety and fears so that they can hold space and not accidentally be the bully that they're afraid their kids in their family are going to be exposed to. Because I think that's a big piece. Like people are really afraid that they're going to, of the bullying that their grandkid or their child will experience. And then accidentally in that, they do what we see in Luca of like keeping you down, keeping you from showing who you are, and then accidentally send the message that I don't accept you. I don't want you to be yourself. So it's teaching skills and language and providing space for them to have their feelings of like, this is scary. It is different. Like, how do we help you? Not have that pressure in the dynamic with your child or grandchild, but like you have a space for you to talk about it, get support, and then your actions are what's really important. Like affirming behaviors are life-saving, particularly for this community. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Spence, you want to actually? I'll probably have you do the description of the show real quick, or just the scene that we watched, and then we'll get into some questions and kind of therapizing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
cool.
brief overview of Luca.
Okay. Brief overview of Luca.
I can actually do it if you want.
Oh, you want to do it?
I can do it. Yeah.
I'm whatever you guys want.
I want to give her a few minutes because she's gonna be talking today because I enjoy it. So. Spence, you go ahead and do this. You save your voice now. You seltzer water. Someone give him a seltzer water.
Drink some water.
There you go.
Oh, they got a cup. It's the seltzer water. I'm gonna have to charge you for that though. It comes off the podcast. $10.
Disappears. Do I have a cup?
Who knows, really?
You barely even see it.
You're just holding a sweatshirt. All right. So Luca is all about it's set in this this little town in Italy, and it follows these sea monsters, right? That can turn into, that look like people on land when they're like dry. And so this whole town is just so invested in like killing these sea monsters, and they've grown to really hate and fear these sea monsters, even though they are, just like anybody else. And so in this scene that we watched, there's this big race. It's like a kind of like a triathlon where they have to like run, eat spaghetti, and then bike up a hill. And so as they were going through this race, Luca, it starts to rain, and so his true self starts to show, right? And then we see him just under this canopy, just waiting for the rain to stop. But he really wants to win this race, really wants to win it. And so then all of a sudden his friend, his best friend, who's also a sea monster, comes to help protect him, and help him bring an umbrella so that then he could finish the race. But then, of course, the evil person of the movie kicks the umbrella off, and then it finally shows Luca's friend's true form, right? And so then he's seen as a sea monster, and of course the bad person of the movie is calling him out and being like, "Hey, that's a sea monster. Let's get him." And so and then Alberto, the friend, actually starts to chase the bad guy, and to make it look like he's going to only be taken. And but then Luca comes out of nowhere, protects him, and shows his true form. This is a great movie because I think that it shows that at some point, to protect our own people, that we have to really kind of show ourselves and show our true colors, and who we are, because we can really, we can hide who we are for so long, but at some point we're going to have to really be ourselves and show people that, the monsters that you think we are is not true, and that they're more to us than just our looks. It's way more. And we got to see that at the end of the scene, where the father figure actually comes out, and he wants to protect Luca and Alberto from being part of a so-called lynch mob, right? And then we also see Luca's parents come out, and they finally are themselves as well. So, I think that's why I really liked this movie when it first came out as well, because it really kind of showed that, and it was a great perspective, in my opinion. But yeah, so anything that I missed there? Anything?
Feels good to me.
Yeah, great job. A plus.
I get paid the big bucks.
You owe me $20.
I get paid nothing. Yeah,
you owe me 20.
I get paid in sweatshirts. There you go. So what about this movie really spoke to you, Dr. Dani?
I think, at its core, it really is a story of how important authenticity is to live the life that is really filled with the things that are going to bring you joy and make you give you the potential to grow to the place that you want. Luca, and the anxiety that can keep us away from that, whether that's something, the voices of the people around us who are fearful of us being hurt, can also limit our ability to fully see the spectrum of what is possible for ourselves. And I think as Luca kind of bravely goes into spaces and explores, he's able to find things that he didn't even know existed. Like he didn't know that learning and going in the galaxies and stars was something that was an option. And like that all of that is so important, and that you can't do it alone. Like community is how we like get through difficult, traumatic, challenging situations, and how we learn to see the possibilities. And so I think this is also very much a movie about like building chosen family who help you learn how to navigate some of the way we internalize things like anxiety, that can sometimes be internalized from outside of us. There's a really hilarious scene where they say like "Silenzio, Bruno." They name their anxiety Bruno.
Yep.
And they're like, "Be quiet, anxiety. Like I have adventures to do, and I need you to be quiet." But like that is something he learned from his friend, and that like even in that, like just like you can have friends that help shape you, and part of like loving good friendship is also giving each other space to grow in the ways that are meaningful too. So that's, I think, another really beautiful part of this movie. But there's so many parts. Gosh, like I love this movie so much. That's one thing that came to my mind. I could go in a whole different vein.
The parts I liked where it was the Silencio Bruno ones, and just the anxiety bit, like forcing yourself to recalibrate, forcing yourself to like therapize or cognitive behavioral therapy, smushing out the negative thoughts, automatic negative thoughts, ants we call them. I used to kill a lot of ants when I was young. You get the hairspray and then a lighter and you just flame them.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you meant metaphorically.
Oh no,
nope.
I don't kill some ants now. Yeah, I'm not a good
literally did that.
I'm not a good person. So there's some sociopathic tendencies over here now.
What?
Yeah. All the podcast members like, yep.
Halloween episode.
Yeah, following episode, Nas went to jail.
When Halloween turns real.
Friday Night Lights. I think for me, obviously the ending, but I really enjoyed the beginning scene that we talked about. And the pre-production, specifically, if we're sticking to the scene, it would be a very good visual for folks that feel like maybe they're getting ahead, or maybe they're starting to work on some things, and then they go backwards, or then they see everyone going up the hill and they're like, "Holy shit, I'm last already. What's the point? I'm gonna quit." There's no point. They're so far ahead now. I don't even have anyone on my team that even get that far. How am I supposed to do this? So it leads a lot of folks like us to be avoidant. A lot of folks that have troubles in school, dyslexia, ADHD, it's hard to focus. I got Nas, why do I have to work so hard? Why do I have to work so hard? Human came in the other day and said, life is just tough and I don't even know if I want to do it anymore. And I said, you talking about school? They said, no, I ain't talking about school. I said, that's what I thought. So then we had to talk about it in depth, about not wanting to exist. And so I can see that uphill battle where it sucks. But then he gets a good burp, he gets his second wind, and he starts going, right? And he starts racing, and now he's ahead in the race. They made me visualize on how students that I work with, clients, they get the resources. Maybe they get the medication. Maybe they get a therapist that fits them, that not only is also validating and supporting, but also helping with some social worky stuff, some resources as well. Maybe you're doing some more solutions. Maybe you got one like me that's kind of an ass, and you're like, hey, we got to get this done, period. Like in this subject email, it says, please respond. I love when I send those to students because like sometimes, I don't know, am I supposed to respond to this? Yes. Completion of this task must be responded by this date. They're like, Nas, I hate when you do this. Yep, I ain't your friend, so I'm your therapist.
We'll have that on a t-shirt soon. I'm not your friend. I'm your therapist.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I'm writing it down now.
Hey, you want to know how bad of a story time? I got forced to go to a birthday party thing for coworkers. They all do it. It's fun. They came to me. They did a birthday thing for me. So I went to one of my boys. Supposed to go to haunted house afterwards. I told everyone I was going, and then at the end I said, "Yeah, I forgot to buy the tickets. Whatever." And they said, "You forgot, huh?" And I said, "Yeah, I forgot." So I go to the birthday thing, and people always hand me cards to give to people. I never know what to say. everyone says the same stuff like happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. You're a good person. I don't know what the fuck people say. In the card, I put in the top corner, and I'm not the best at spelling. I just put I hate you - Nas. Ridiculous. Everyone cracked up and they said, of course Nas put that. When they gave him the card, I said, there's something special in there from me, because he didn't see it, because it's a lot to read while you're at the table. I said, it's the most famous quote from Star Wars. He said, Star Wars? I said, yeah, because he's a Star Wars fan. I said, Anakin Skywalker's favorite quote. I hate you.
Oh.
As he burns in
and I hate sand. Anakin really hated some stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We cracked up about it. End of story time. I'm super weird. Sometimes it's okay not to know what to say. Folks tend to love me for that. I did respond in the group text, and everyone's like, Nas, I assume this is the last number that didn't put their name in the thing. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Leave me alone. I don't need to respond to this. I'll go. I don't need to text you that I'm going. Whatever. It's fine. But then Nas, you're so extroverted. And I'm like, yeah. Just because I'm extroverted doesn't mean I want to talk to all y'all all the time. I want to just go home and work out, or go home and watch some TV shows. End of rant. As we get back to this, I just thought about things are tough. And for a lot of us neurodivergent folks, it's very tough. For a lot of queer folk, it's very tough. And there's a lot of peaks and valleys. That's what I thought about. And then obviously the completion of this race. But shit, that's the dream. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the dream, Spence, is, you can come out and have whatever colors that you want. You can do whatever you want. You can live fully in your peace, in your bliss, is what our last co-host or host. No. What do we call it? Guest, not co-host. Guest. Last guest, they said they got diagnosed being as a therapist, diagnosed being on the spectrum at 29. And they said there was a lot of grief and some trauma in there. And then now it's the bliss phase. So it made me think of that. It made me think of the community members being cool and to unmask. I think the hard part is maybe you can, as a therapist, you can get your client to be in some of that bliss after some sessions. But shit, it might be hard to turn the parents, or you could say grandparents. That's the hard one.
Yeah.
I
think that's, and I think so there's one scene, it's a little bit after the one that we share on this, where the parents are sitting with the grandmother, like watching Luca with the friends after the scene that we show, and they're just playing, and the mom says, gosh, okay, we're doing this, like he's out basically. Is this going to be okay? Like, I'm scared, is essentially what she says. And the grandma says, you're right. Like there are going to be people that aren't nice to him. Like, that's true. Like, that anxiety you feel, like, it's just facts. Like, there are going to be people who don't get him. And there are going to be people who do.
Yep.
And he seems to be pretty good at finding the ones who do. Look at him there. And I think that really is very real. Like, it speaks to, like, you can't control everything. Like, you can't control if you unmask, if there's going to be haters, like, or people, like, oppression is real. Minority stress is real. All of that just shit is real.
Yeah.
And like, if we allow the threat of it to keep us from being our authentic selves, to keep us from being in this space where we allow people to know us deeply, then we lose out on the good stuff of chosen family, like of being seen for who we are, of like finding other people who don't want to mask it either. Like, we're like, the team name for this is, they're called the underdogs.
Yeah.
And like, if I think a lot of people who are marginalized identify with that underdog narrative in some ways. And like in this, like the power of being an underdog on a team is that like they finish the race, like they finish it together and they actually win it in a way that they couldn't have done necessarily, like without each other. So I think, that part of being out, like when we're out, we're also doing it together. to some degree, and that is, I don't know, it's part of like finding your bliss, as you were saying before. Like, I think it's about finding the life that you deserve, but it takes bravery to be your authentic self in this world. Like, it's really hard to do in a world that wants you to not, like, that anxiety is very valid and real. And I think there can be a lot on the other side of, I talk to clients a lot about like like a bridge of anxiety. Like, you got to get over the anxiety bridge to get to that place on the other side that you're talking about wanting, where you have community, where you have resources, where you have all these things.
Yeah. So Spence, we just did that podcast with Rory, the mascot for Aurora FC, women led and operated a professional soccer team out in Minnesota. And
cool.
Yeah, super awesome. We got vice president came on, Roy, the mascot, was dealing with some anxiety. So we had, therapize him on the podcast. To make sure the season went good.
November 6th?
Yeah, if not, then the week after, maybe. Yeah. So it's the middle of November. But one of the parts that Rory picked out was the dad said to the other dinosaur, hey, sometimes this awesomeness, this beautiful, is right on the other side of your fear. The whole movie of A Good Dinosaur by Disney is on the other side. So how do we not get over, but get through it? Who are the allies, resources, support, loved ones? So I got a personal question.
Okay.
You or clients, whatever, you can use a molding of them. But it'd be cool if you did one for yourself. When was it? Have you faced any of this generational trauma, right? Being a Jewish individual. And then how does one get over it? And because I would like to touch on that as well, coming from my family.
Yeah.
Because that's what we talked about, this generational thing where they're like, hey man, you better talk like this, act like this, because a lot of people ain't gonna like if you do it like the way you want to do it. Or you I'm okay if you're gay, but you better not tell no one you what does it say? Don't tell, don't ask. What was that military thing?
Don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
You can be gay in your house. As soon as you go outside, you better put on that, as my professor would say, that fucking cloak of whiteness to protect you. So if you could preach on some of that, and then I'm going to do a little teaching.
Yeah. I mean, I think the short answer is yes. I think anybody who belongs to a marginalized group that is has been exposed to generationally, especially like oppression. I know in my family, it was definitely, there was hesitancy around things like, I remember having like stuff on my resume that like made it I mean, my last name is very Jewish and I kept it and when I got married, but also just in general, like having, like, if I worked in any Jewish related organization or things, and there was like fear of what that might mean on an employment application or things like that. Or even like today, I think there's definitely fear a lot of folks feel around like going to Jewish spaces. Like I can't go to my synagogue without going through a metal detector every time I go. That is just normal. And that's not it's not something I love to have to do when I'm going to, a place of worship, like to be in community and have a dinner with friends, so I think that is definitely very real. And I think, and I don't think I'm alone. I think, when I sit with clients that are in the BIPOC community or other folks in the queer community like myself, we have to make these decisions around how authentic are we going to be in fighting through some of those messages and fighting through the fact that there might be generational stuff that can come up, and I mean, certainly, we are in a time right now where I think a lot of people from marginalized communities are feeling very activated and seeing their narratives of collective suffering and generational trauma being like loudly shown. I mean, I think many of us can't open our social media without seeing messages.
Yep.
And it's painful, and it's a lot of cultural grief and a lot of cultural fear, and a lot of generational, like, feeling not heard or not seen. And so I think because of that, because of like the wounds we carry as people from, and it's not necessarily things we've personally lived in our lives. Like I think in the Jewish community, obviously we talk a lot about like the impact of the Holocaust on people. But I think a lot of many communities have things like that, and they're not, they're all different experiences of how proximal it feels to your lived experience versus like what you're hearing generationally, and that impacts our bodies. It impacts our anxiety. We joke in the Jewish community, certainly, that like there's a lot of Jewish anxiety. Like that'll be like a joke between two Jewish people. Like, oh, you have anxiety too? Of course you do. But I think it's because like it comes from this like sense of like, if you're aware of like that things aren't always safe, and that you're like that there's danger, there's threats in other places, like that desire to be protective, I think is really real. And again, I don't think that's like unique to Jewish people. I think it's something. I think queer people are having to feel that every time I go to an airport, if I see a gender neutral bathroom, I'm like celebrating, because I think that, going to the bathroom at this point is something that people are afraid. Like, am I going to have access to a space that feels safe? Like all of those kind of things are very real. And I think like in moments where we experience something, I think sometimes people don't always realize this. Like if you, I don't know, you let's say you make a microaggression like at work or something like that, like some like a coworker says something and you have a really big reaction to that experience of being microaggressed against. I think a lot of times people think, wow, you overreacted to this tiny thing I said, but people don't realize that it's not just about that tiny thing. It's about all the tiny things that I've experienced, that my parents have experienced, that my grandparents have experienced, that so the people who look like me or have this identity have experienced. And I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I just want it to stop. So I think that that's really speaking to that generational piece that Luca really points to really well, of like the parents are very scared that like this narrative that like the humans are going to spear them if they see them. And we see it. We see like that narrative come out like into play. Like they do grab spears and like they have visuals of spears all over. Like the fear isn't completely unfounded. There's truth in the anxiety. And like we're giving them a lot of power if we allow that to be how we live our lives. So I think part of breaking cycles of generational trauma is making that decision for yourself. Like, and it's not global necessarily, but thinking what pieces of your life are you willing to hold those boundaries where you do prioritize safety, and what are the pieces where you're like, I need to do this thing to be authentic to me, to be myself. But it's complicated.
It makes me think of, you said the thing about going to a place of worship and safety. Spence, if you remember a while ago, a lot of them active shooters, trigger warning for the next little bit of this for folks, because we're going to talk about some death. So you can skip for the next 5 minutes if you want to. But a lot of these active shooters and stuff like that, they were targeting Black folk in places of worship.
Absolutely.
And so it's, how I remember all my friends, because I grew up in a predominantly Black environment, and it's not even safe to go to worship now. So like, what is going on? We're getting targeted in grocery stores. We're getting targeted at the Department of Human Services. We see this main shooter was targeting people at the bowling alley. I'm like, the bowling alley ain't even safe. And that's like a family place, bowling alley, family place. So it's intense for a lot of folks. The differentiation on some of that stuff is, where I hear a lot of the discussions is more of the fear on folks that are Black or brown, because their bodies, there is no hiding. And then where you have like other identities such as Luca, right? They could also be like white passing. So in this movie, it made me think of this. So they have them as the monsters, right, Spence? That made me think more of like fully being as a Black or brown entity, and then having this sea of white people holding their tiki torches, aka Charlottesville. That made me think of the spears, and anything that is different, we will hate. Luca goes, I'm not scared of you people. And he's like, well, we're scared of you and we're going to kill you. That's I think one of the most intense scenes in there, because it's like, dude, how are you scared of some little boy that's running a race? Why are you scared of some individual just living in their right to be safe or queer or study Jewish? Why are you scared of a Mexican individual just going into the Sam's Club, buying some groceries? Why clutch your purse? Why walk on the other side of the street when you see a homeless individual because they're brown? Why so much fear for things that aren't congruent with the way you grew up? And it's not fully just a racial thing. It's ingrained in us humans to be scared of everything, a fear response of what is different because I don't understand it. So don't understand means there could be something harmful. And that's what it made me think of, all those humans. So you're just going to kill what you don't know. Well, you know, it has the chance to hurt us or, you know, to take our jobs. You know, that's what they like to say about, you know, my people, Mexican folk. You know, they're going to take our jobs. Man, you don't even want them damn jobs, bruh. Like, if you wanted that job, doing all these different things, take it. So it made me think of a lot of different racial things.
Yeah.
And then you put in go ahead. I was just going to say the one thing about queerness is, you know, a lot of folks can repress a lot of that and not show that. And so that's why I want to talk about that, because you can suppress it. And, you know, like a lot of my coworkers and friends, you know, no one knows what their sexuality or what their true gender is, right? But then when they go into those spaces, they're one thing. When they go home, they're unmasked. So that speaks to community as a folks that's autistic. Rarely do you get to unmask. Rarely do you get to be you. Rarely can you complain about the noise, the light, the sensitivity. Rarely as a woman, cisgendered male here, as a woman of color, can you complain about the sexism in your business or the racism because you may be fired and held against you. So rarely can folks in these marginalized identities actually speak up. They can. But there's always the fear that I may lose my job. I may be victimized. There may be retaliation. Most of my clients fear retaliation. So it leads to suppression. Suppression after a long period of time goes into depression, suicidality. That's how I want to end that is the suppression is what kills us. But we suppress because we're scared.
Yeah.
We're just scared. Everyone, and it's fucked up because everyone is scared.
Well, I think, you know, one of the things about generational trauma that I've been thinking about a lot is that when we're moving from a place of generational trauma, when we're activated, it is a perfect breeding ground for what you're describing, this like very black and white thinking and safety thinking that makes us say, you unsafe, like I must not have you here. And it takes us out of our humanity. It moves us into a place of dehumanization sometimes.
That's the word.
I think that's very, very problematic and risky. And like, I mean, I think a lot of people are grieving in this particular moment because of the consequence of the ways that generational trauma has led to disconnection and dehumanization and violence. So I think, you know, it can be something that it's really, really challenging to navigate because it is so embedded in like this desire for safety that sometimes our anxiety brains that are activated by trauma can get in our way. In the same way we see this mom saying, I'm terrified of you being yourself. I'm scared of something happening to you. So what does mom say? She says, I'm going to send you to in the story, the bottom of the ocean to live with your uncle in basically a dark void, like where you don't live. Like that's not a life that she was sending Luca to protect him. Like we choose things that are not human sometimes out of that fear. I think, you know, that is like taking away his agency, his right to be able to explore it, to figure out things that bring him joy, for the sake of protecting him. I think that's an example of when our generational trauma can get activated and we let it win and get in our own way rather than like letting it soften us and think about how can I see, like, I don't, as a Jew with white privilege, like I definitely do not know what it's like to walk around having someone be able to look at me and necessarily have discriminatory reactions, right? But I can hear your story, and from my generational trauma, I can say like, wow, like I can soften towards that and feel for you. And so I think there's a lot of power in like having those experiences that we can see each other and be in community in a way that's really amazing. But I think one of the challenges is we have to be able to get out of the generational trauma way of disconnecting for our safety. I also think like white supremacy is really good at disconnecting us. It's like its main thing.
At the core, it's what it does.
You know,
that and the class system. White supremacy is there, but also to me, it always comes down to money. The folks with money tend to always make us think that the other person is the problem, and it's always telling the middle class that they're the problem, and the middle class is like, oh shit, you're right, it's the poor folk, and the poor folk end up being the marginalized folk. Spencer made me it made me think of something. I don't know, man. Maybe the mom's right. They just need to go into that pit and that hole in it because they're gonna be safe in that hole. So just go to the hole, right? That makes sense, right, Spencer?
Yeah. Nothing bad ever comes out of locking somebody up in isolation. Never.
But I'm like, technically the mom's right. They will be safe there.
Well, I think they're a type of safe. Like they're not going to be physically killed, but emotionally, that is like,
emotions. That's not a real thing. Come on, man. Come on, no, Doc. Well, no, we met Mexican over here now. We ain't got emotions. We just work. We ain't got time for emotions. That's the white people stuff. Yeah. You got
people.
Yeah. It's not freedom. That's what it isn't.
There you go. I'm bringing this up because it's a very real thing that many of my clients deal with from ethnic backgrounds is not even worry about emotions. What are emotions? A lot of my clients from international, it's not a thing that are Indian and Asian folk. Oh, no, I don't have to worry about that. I'm fine. I'm like, brother, you're not fine. You're not sleeping. You're not eating. You're having panic attacks. Like some people, you're treating your kids bad. You're treating your partner bad. No, emotions. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. Well, you've been better since we started talking. I think I'm going to discontinue therapy because my emotions, I don't need the work. I'm like, okay. It's a lot of generational trauma making them think that they don't actually need to connect with emotions, that they don't need help or support, because that means that they're broken or they're screwed up or they're less masculine. Masculinity is what's killing a lot of us. Doesn't matter what gender, masculinity is what kills many of us. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, a lot of things. Violence. And so I make the joke because it is literally said in my office by many men and many folks of color. Emotions. No. I'm fine now. That's for women. That's for white folk. I'm like, so you don't get sad? So you don't get angry, huh? So you weren't scared to come in my office today, you big old softy? I wasn't scared to come in your office. Oh, okay. Well, you only said 3 words for 10 minutes.
But I think that can be part of that internalization, right? Like if mom is telling you like, don't silence Bruno, like listen to Bruno, like enough, you start listening and you start disconnecting. And that is also part of our generational traumas, that we like don't listen to our intuition. We don't listen to like the wisdom that our bodies are holding about our reactions to things. Like I think emotions, to me as an emotion focused provider, are very much like information about how, we're feeling in our world. Like how if somebody does something crappy to us, we have a reaction to it, and it's part of how our brain codes, I don't like that. Like I need something different to be happening, right? And if you're in an environment where you're like, wow, I'm feeling celebrated and supported, like our body encodes joy, so we get more of that. Like it's a really important information system that I think sometimes the trauma in very real ways cuts ourselves off from that information.
It does.
And so it takes a safe space. I use the word brave space for my company because I think it takes a lot of bravery to push through, to be authentic, even in a therapy space with all these boundaries, like having confidentiality. But it takes a lot of bravery, I think, to allow yourself to access those emotions. And if you haven't had the chance or the time to learn how to do that safely, it can feel really, really scary. Which I think is why Luca like struggles so much to leave the water. Like he's terrified that something bad's going to happen.
Yeah. I was thinking, they're depends how kind they are, brave space, right? Right. All kind things, soft spoken, when I'm talking to clients. So, you don't like therapy, huh? Because it's just soft or it's feminized or it's slur towards gay folk, right? They call it gay. That's gay. Oh, okay. Real men don't need to do that. All right. Or a lot of folks go, I don't need to do that. I'm tough. Oh, okay. So being a tough is running away from all your emotions, huh? Because if you tell me, that sounds like a coward. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, I just called you a coward. So I'm a little bit more blunt and straightforward. So Dr. Danny is a little bit nicer. I need you to be brave. I'm like, no, you a punk if you don't come back.
You'll get there.
You're like, experience your feelings or you're a punk.
You're a punk.
Now it's just like, nah, get your ass into therapy. Well, then Dr. Danny's just like, it'll take time. All right, it'll take time. You'll get there at some point. Like, get your ass there now. No.
I'm like,
well, there's something for everybody. That's
True.
The thing.
True.
The world needs both of us, my friends.
Yes.
It needs both of us.
See, look how kind they are. They're going to validate my crazy. I like it. Don't do it now. Don't do it. It works so well with men, especially athletes. Very well with athletes. I said, what are you going to do, man? You're going to be like your family and use alcohol and other substances? Because to me, that feels like a coward way to go. That feels like the wrong way to go. And then you're going to treat your children like you were treated? Feels like the wrong way to go. I said, you ain't got to come back. But just to let you know, you'll be running. And maybe you don't have to work with me. There's other counselors that'll be kinder. I'm just letting you know in this intake, we need to work on some stuff. And I got a lot of love for you and respect. Hopefully you make some good choices. And then we just see, and they always come back. I'm usually trying to change a lot of my boys' feelings on substance abuse and coping like that, specifically when they've always been told in their family, don't cry. And in my women as well, don't cry. And I see with a lot of my neurodivergent folks on the spectrum is sometimes the parents will be disconnected, a little narcissistic, very mean, cold. And so no emotions were ever validated. And it's always, nope, the next thing. And so they come to me and I'm like, it's okay to cry. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, I'm going to get you to cry.
They're like, I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't want to do it in front of you.
They always say that, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to get you sooner or later. And then they think that I'm bright and bubbly and talking a lot of trash and this and that. And or I'm blunt. And then I'll catch them in an emotion. Then my voice will change. And I'll talk about,
then you get your therapist voice.
I was like, so
you become gentle, quiet.
They hurt you. Because that's what you tell me. And then it was hard for you. Yeah. Then I turn on. Eventually, Spence, I go where they use, right? Eventually I go back to that side, the light side. But I'm usually more, what's it called? I'm more of like Adam Driver in Star Wars. More! Just very violent.
Hey everyone, I wanted to give a special shout out to our collaborator, Two Nerds Candle Company. Not only do they have great products, but they are also giving back to a great cause. You can tell that they take a lot of pride in making their candles. My favorite is Spock's Monday Coffee. They are also donating 10% annually to support Women in STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. You can use our code DSP or go to our link tree to get 20% off your entire order. We think that this company is great, and we think you will too, so go check them out. Hey, are you a nerd? Do you like pins? If you're like any of our followers and you said yes, you should check out our collaboration with Pinfinity. They have Power Rangers pins, Transformers pins, and for all of our bronies out there, My Little Pony pins. Go check out our link tree or use our code DSP to get 20% off your Pinfinity order today.
You're the Kylo of therapy.
I'm the Kylo Ren of therapy.
Kylo Ren therapy, everyone.
Kylo Ren of therapy. I got a saber.
You didn't need therapy at all.
I got a saber. Yeah. Like you said, everyone needs it. I do ebb and flow into, oh my God, the thing thinks I have a hand raising.
Yeah.
How do I put it down?
Yes, you have a question.
Maybe you're just raising the roof.
Raising the roof? Well, you're officially old.
Whoops.
You're good. Spence, let me kick it over to you, brother. What was what's visually stuck out to you, right? You know, we speak to a lot of autistic folk. What stuck out to you, beginning, middle, end? Was it just him eating spaghetti? Because, you know, I mean, that was two for me.
I was like, I know
it looked really good.
I know this is Italy, but come on now. We got it. We got it. Spaghetti. But
is Eminem in here? Spaghetti.
I would have to say definitely the part where Luca's parents are just overly protective because they don't want to see their child get hurt. But at the same time, we also see that it does hurt him, and it keeps on allowing for that discrimination against those sea creatures to keep on happening, right? Because nothing will change if we can't try to integrate with one another, if we can't try to make sure that we show that our kids can get along with one another without having to bring up what they look like. And so I like it because it shows that perspective. I just watched another film. It was like something Teen Kraken or whatever. It's on Peacock, and they kind of had the same thing kind of going on, where it was like these parents are actually more trying to be like humans instead of for them being themselves, and so they try to hide who they are in that regard. And I thought it's such a great topic, especially when we can always intersect it with any type of race or discrimination. Is that at the end of the day, I think kids and the next generations are being hurt if we try to just keep ourselves away from one another, right?
Yeah.
But we've also seen the ugly side of that, of just trying to coexist sometimes, and it sucks. But at the same time, it's like, how are we going to change if our kids can't even get along with one another? So yeah.
And the kids ain't born racist or homophobic. The kids love everyone, man. That's one of the basic purest forms. And they just get taught these things, man. They get I hold biases too. We get taught these things, and you end up. I'm like, I don't even know why I don't even like this person. What? Because some bullshit I learned back in the day. It's just stupid. It takes maturity and wisdom. Sometimes it takes searching Yoda. Search your feelings. Search your feelings, young one. Young Padawan, search your feelings. I'm like, I'm hungry, motherfucker. What else you want me to search?
I need to search for a bagel. I don't know what to.
I was hungry 2 hours ago.
Y'all really do talk about food a lot. That's true.
We do.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Hey,
we're a food podcast more than we are mental health.
We food positive. We food positive.
Food is part of our health, I personally believe, especially delicious food.
It is, right?
Brings you a lot of joy.
I had some sugar fish before this. I lost 2 toes.
Sugar fish? What the hell is that?
What?
Sugar? Aren't they called Swedish fish?
Jesus.
Oh, Swedish fish.
Sugar
I was like,
fish.
sugar fish. I was like, is that some different kind of fish? Never heard of sugar fish.
It's diabetic. Diabetics. Wait a minute. Diabetics' choice of fish. Sugar fish.
I don't even know. One thing that I was also thinking while you were talking is I think this movie also does a really interesting job of kind of challenging some notions we have about elders too.
Okay.
In terms of like, I think a lot in my family, like I draw a lot of yes, generational trauma is very real in many families, mine included. And I think there's a lot of like generational like wisdom and strength like we can draw from our communities too. And sometimes I think we have these biases against like what our elders like think. And so I always love stories like this where like the elder is like surprising, and like grandma is like a fierce ally in this. Like she is like, going to bat for Luca. Like, Luca runs out and like gets home late, and mom is like really mad, and at one point, like, or he's not home on time, and grandma's like, oh, I sent him out. And like, she's just like there, like she's there to cover for Luca, like having his adventures. And we come to find out that grandma has been going up there, like on the surface, like just vibing. And she's like there when mom is like super anxious, like even after Luca comes out, like fully. And mom's like, I'm kind of terrified. And grandma's just like, it's going to be all right. Like, yeah, like there's going to be people that are not good to him, and there's going to be people that are great to him. And like, you got to let him find his people, but like, we got to keep going, keep moving on. And so I think too, that was like a really cool part of the story, that like generational trauma is also like, comes with generational wisdom that we have to figure out how to draw from it too. Especially when we're thinking about marginalized identities. I think a lot about a friend of mine has like a theory of radical healing and radical hope. And like, just like to get free, we gotta connect to these different pieces, like acknowledge the trauma, but also like mine our experiences for the joy and the resilience and like the possibility. Like, it doesn't have to just be anxiety.
It doesn't have to be just sadness. You can like dream and hope and visualize and be playful and re-engage with the young part of yourself before all the damage and trauma. So as Luca, he is this bright and bubbly, beautiful, bushy tail, blue, colorful thing.
Vespa loving.
And then the world tries to take everything from him, though. That's what the world does. It usually tries to rip everything from you. All the joy, all the friendliness, all the kid, all the colorfulness. And it's just how you're supposed to act. Shut up, go to class. Learn math. Become a doctor or a lawyer. And so we see this boyhood joy, which a lot of us lose. And when you come to my office, a good majority of that is reconnecting with that, is getting back to this joy and happiness and the toys in my office. It's okay to be weird. I get that I'm very big and masculine, so I can be a little bit more feminine. I acknowledge those privileges. But how can we get back to this joy? Which leads me into, after what you just said, the allyship, just in general, is the friend. What's his name again, Spence?
Alberto.
Alberto, yep. So the allyship there is so important. The allyship from the dad is very important, especially him being so large, so masculine, so prominent in the community. The allyship from the grandma most likely is a trailblazer. So a lot of these families that are queer folk that are trailblazers, right, that are doing the shit, or that were like Black Panthers back in the day doing the shit. And so they empathize with the more radical students, young ones, like, hey man, do your thing. But some parents want you to be safe. So I'm gonna dig into a story time.
I think there can also be cycles of that too, where like you have like an elder that was like very more radical, and then the kids of that generation are more scared. Like, and more like, no, just like keep your heads down, like just get through this. And then the next generation is like, no, we got to fight this. We can't live like this. And we kind of bop around.
It is
like back and forth.
It's a cycle. So as folks know, right, I'm Mexican and Arab. And I'm the liaison to the cultural center here, and I talk to a lot of students all the time about identity. And a lot of them will come to me like, man, I don't want to go to the cultural center. I said, why not? Well, I don't really fit in with like Latino folk, Latinx folk. I'm like, why not? Well, I'm a little bit more nerdy and I like anime, or I'm like, so this kid's autistic, huh? You autistic?
Another one, found him.
I got another one.
And add that to the list. There it is.
You a furry too, ain't you? I'm joking. You a fox? You a fox? You're all foxes.
What do they say?
I ain't gonna lie. I'm a panda, so hey, I'm just letting you know.
What?
You have a panda behind you.
I know. That's actually a picture of me.
Self-portrait.
All the hair, all of it. Girl. Girl. Don't play with it now. Okay, stop. For me, stop. Just like, fuck you. You get into some of these things, and it's the fear of not being, I'm going to go Mexican enough. And I don't speak the language. I don't personally speak the language. Some of my clients don't speak the language, and so it makes them scared to go in some of these spaces because I'm not fully like them. But also, I'm not white. So where do I go? Some of my clients that are black, well, I don't fit in with a lot of other black folk on campus or my family members because I might be nerdier, or maybe I'm more like Gothic, maybe I'm more feminine. And so it's the masculinity is the currency. So for me that doesn't speak Arabic or Spanish, it sucks.
There's like a loss there.
It's a loss for this because the grandparents, he told on my dad's side, who was Arab, in 1940 they immigrated, and he gave all his kids white names because he wanted them to get the jobs and to be safe, right? He wanted them to blend into society because there is a lot of racism back then, and things were more terrifying. Didn't speak any Arabic around them because he wanted no accents. Right? You want to get a job, you want to be safe. We don't want these folks to kill you or to harm you. I don't want to have to come home and you've been taken off by the police or people out there pitchforks. On the Mexican side, not a lot of Spanish was spoken. It was, and my mom spoke it, but not a lot to make sure they could assimilate and get the jobs. And so I don't have the tongue for it because they were being protected, even though it ended up hurting me and maybe hurting them as well. Because you're forcing assimilation. You're forcing to lose all of your culture, all of it. That's a generational trauma thing too, where we can't connect. So you see a lot of folks now, like you, Jewish, different cultures, they're trying to get back into the culture because it was taken from them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as you were speaking. My grandpa actually, his first language was Yiddish, and that was like the language he knew. And I remember asking him about it once. He actually was stationed in Italy during World War II. But when he came back, he was disabled, and it was a difficult transition. But I asked him about when I found out that he spoke Yiddish, about his experience with it, and he said the language is dead. Like I think after the Holocaust, like it did not feel right to speak it for him. It was like a reminder of trauma. And I actually went to a play this past month in Tampa. That's a really amazing play. Called Indecent, and it had a lot of Yiddish spoken in it, and I had never heard it out loud before. And I just felt it felt like this very generational like thing like turned on like in my body. Like I was like, whoa, like I feel like this connection to this language. But there's so much, and there's a lot of sadness too, because there's a lot of like, wow, we've lost. So many of us have lost these cultural ties that make us feel enough, and we think they'd make us feel like enoughness in our mind, I guess. But there's also just a loss of feeling connected to your people and
to
your
history,
heritage,
to culture,
to history.
There's old ancient stories that were told and retold, right? And you lose it, and thus you lose a part of yourself. Why? Because of whiteness. And folks know we talk about a lot of stuff. Love white folk, right? I mean, we talk some trash. The white man. And the moral of the story. I'm just saying he's Italian in the story, but at the end of the day, the bad guy was, he was white man.
Yeah.
Just making sure we know that. I'm joking.
I'm trying to remember what his name was in the story. I must have blocked it out, but he very much is like this embodiment, I think, of like white upper class, like narrative of the reign of terror is what they like refer to his like popularity as, like that he is like there and he is just robbing everyone of joy. It seems like, and he's a bully. He very much is a bully,
an oppressor. You looking it up, Spence?
Yeah. Give me one second.
You're good. It was a wonderful film and a lot of good visuals for a lot of things, a lot of good allyship, the mentorship of the grandma, everyone coming into their full light, their full love colors. A lot of folks on the spectrum love color. Not everyone, because some got color sensitivity. But being able to what's this, peacock, right? And just show all your feathers and brightness and bushy-tailed. And that is something that I love to do with the right folks. And I did it at the dinner thing Friday. Today's Sunday, Friday. And some people were cracking up. They're like, wow, where are you in the office? I said, I keep my door shut. And they said, why? I don't like to talk to people. They're like, but you're like the star of the show right now. And I was like, yeah, now. But also during the day, I got shit to do. I got to talk to these clients. Like, I ain't trying to talk to you, homie.
Yeah, you got to protect your energy.
Protect your energy. Also, this setting, I know I can unmask and be a little bit more ADHD and inappropriate. If we're at a pub all eating for a birthday where we're in the workspace, they'd be like, oh, well, you said that.
Well, I think that's also like one of the messages we haven't checked on related to the relationship between Luca and Alberto. And I actually, like, the first time I watched it, I didn't even like fully pick up, like, it took me a couple times of watching it to really like see this fully. But they do talk about like coming out as like, you got to like that it is a personal choice and that everybody has different fears and safeties and all of that too. And like Alberto like comes out first and tries to force Luca to be out in a way that was like that's like not okay. Like it's really important that you have agency over coming out. And that like as their relationship navigates, like they do kind of have a corrective experience of Luca being able to choose to come out in that moment to save Alberto. But I think that, having autonomy and agency over when you take your mask off is really essential for this to feel like not oppressive. Like, and we all have different timelines and different moments. Like that makes total sense to me that like a work environment feels complicated, but maybe like a dinner party feels like the vibe.
It's the vibe. Should that be the title of this podcast, Coming Out?
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe?
Coming out, it's a vibe.
Coming out, it's a vibe. Real quick, Spence, we was at the dinner party and, there's about 20 people there and I sit down in this chair, one away from everyone and then open space to my right. So more people start filling in all the other spaces, and where I got my arm, I'm protecting the one chair because I don't like people being next to me. And they said, Nas, we're going to need that chair. And I said, it's reserved. And they said, who's it reserved for? And I said, Jesus. And they said, Jesus. I said, the Jesus. And someone goes, who the hell is Jesus? And I just point up there. In actuality, my autistic ass just doesn't like people sitting next to me. But I didn't want to say that out loud in public. Like,
I mean, even with me, you do that when we're in movie theater. You're like, yeah, man, you sitting over there. I'm like, Jesus. Been cool for years. I don't understand.
I don't need you sitting in my lap, huh? You want me to stroke your hair? Jesus. Touch your hands and shit. Hey, I ain't trying to come out right now. Calm that down.
Okay, not right now. All right, my bad. It's your time, your space.
I make a joke of that because Spence always trying to call me out, and because I'm trapped in that closet. I'm looking over here because it's the closet.
It's your time. We all still love you. All right. We all still love you.
That's what they say. That's what they say. Spence, I know we got to start wrapping up here in a minute.
Yes.
You got any other questions that you want to head towards Doc?
No, I think we're good. I mean, I think we've pretty much covered everything that we had on our list. Yeah. I mean, would you like to give out your socials and where people can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Insta at Brave Space Psych. And my website is www.bravespacepsych.com. I work with folks, and right now therapy is in Florida, but I'm hoping by January it'll be SciPac allows me to be able to serve in like 40 states or something like that for therapy, which is pretty cool. So coming in 2024, I'll be able to do therapy in lots of states. But I do coaching and education and trainings and all kinds of good stuff. I've like done like trainings at summer camps and different nonprofits and things. So I am always happy to help create brave spaces with folks where I just want people to be able to be their authentic selves more. And I know that can be scary and challenging to figure out how to do that. So, if you need support, I got you.
Yeah. You want it to where it's like the picture that's behind you is you don't want to have to be always code switched. You want to be able to be who you are in those spaces. Right. The code switching, it leads, and for folks on the spectrum, it leads to a lot of depression, isolation. And we made the joke of like being in that basement or that pit and the sea. Like, who wants to do that? Folks that are really scared of life or traumatized from relationships, parents will do that because isolation is safety. And to go and find a new friend or a new partner, that's terrifying, and it almost guarantees that you will be hurt. because you'll break up,
sure.
or that your friendship will fall out. They may pass away. But for many folks, majority of folks, getting outside into that brave space will allow you to experience real love, real joy, real connection, real friendship. You'll try different foods. You'll go to different places, right? Because that's what this provides. Or, and I'm not going to demonize going to that dark place, because you can stay there. Because if you need your time to take your time to heal from the trauma, whatever the hell happened, but we also need to know that eventually we need to take some steps towards just healing instead of sitting in that suffering.
Yeah.
And saying that, there's a lot of neurodivergent folks that do like quietness, and they just want to sit in there, and that's perfectly fine.
For sure.
Which is fine.
And that's different. Like solitude is different.
Correct.
And I think we all need solitude. Like we need to have solitude. I think neurodivergent folks are really good at the reality that you need to get bored in order to be creative as well a lot of the time, and things like that. I think that's true. But, I think that what this story really points to is you can have an experience. You might not be able to picture it right now if you're like in that place where like the darkness feels like the most secure, but you can get to a place of celebrating yourself in the community, but it does take risk. It does take pushing those fear thoughts, the silencio Bruno behaviors, so you can go and trying new things, like building a Vespa out of trash and meeting new people and all of these different things, right? Taking risks. And I think for Luca, it was a risk. He had to go somewhere he had never been before by himself and break barriers basically, but he was able to achieve something really amazing with that risk. And change the world,
Yep.
So just casually change the world.
Hey, you change a couple words, you change worlds. So, one world at a time, those worlds lead into the world. Spencer, it's a good one. It's a good movie, good one. I'm going to end on something funny right here. We're not going to fully end,
Well,
Doc, I'm not going to out the person that I talked about, but, you said, you had some folks that that are neurodivergent, this and that.
Yeah.
And we looked funny.
I have a lot of people I love that are neurodivergent.
You got to catch them all, huh? Spencer's like, I'm done with this. Oh, the Ash
catch them.
So we tend to find our people, and our people, they may be more queer, more trans, more authentic, right? They probably align with a lot of your values, neurodivergent folks. But they also said, we tend to partner with each other. We tend to be friends with each other. So if you find yourself in a space with a bunch of folks that are neurospicy, you might need to be looking in the mirror. It's like when the algorithm keeps sending you gay content, you're like, damn, am I gay? So Spence, as we say on the podcast, Doc might have a little autism.
I think it's very possible there's a little neurospicy for sure.
It's been detected.
Warp them into autism? What's happening here? Why do you think
I don't know what's happening.
Rick's warp gun.
I just wanted to put that out there. It's another one. Everyone in the podcast, I feel
would be honored. I haven't been tested, so I wouldn't use that kind of language.
Well, the tester only
like I said, highly sensitive person.
You warp them into an autistic world, and they're just like, oh wow, this is the same place I've always been. What the weird. What?
Yeah. We warp them into an autistic world, and it's the episode where there's 5,000 or 5 million Rick and Mortys. They're all like, oh yeah, man, this is Autistic Planet. Welcome. You've been
welcome to the party.
Welcome.
I will say my spouse did dress as Pickle Rick from Rick and Morty a few years ago for Halloween. So I don't know what that says about our family, but
he's autistic.
Pickle Rick.
Okay,
we're not gonna so lucky.
We're not gonna pat. Well, you don't have to be lucky. You're in. I'm joking. All right, Spence, let's wrap the show up. Really.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I'm really grateful to have been here. I also just feel called to just name that I don't know, like there's something very healing about being on this podcast, being in a space with like both of you, and especially, being a Jewish human here and having so many beautiful laughs with a member of the Arab community at this particular moment. Like that just feels like we are doing some generational trauma healing too right now in this moment, just by like finding joy together. So thank you for including me in that.
Yeah, I don't think when I hit you up, a lot of the bad things have happened. I'm right. I'm sure maybe some folks right in our families could be like, why are you doing it with that? I don't care. I saw what you looked like, and I saw your smile and some of the things that you posted. And I said, I'm inviting them. Things from the past don't hold me back. And maybe they did in the past, but I'm not shackled to anything. If I see someone that looks like a good human, then you are a good human. I don't give a shit about your culture, race, identity. I ain't into that colorblind shit because I see color. It was a funny thing that we talked about in the last podcast, but I enjoyed the human that you presented on there, and it looks like that is authentically you. I loved your story today. You as a person, your voice and energy, your intelligence, your ability to put things through. And I know you're a good therapist and heal a lot of folks, and probably kept a lot of folks from dying. So I appreciate you.
Same.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And with that, this will be the last time we ever see Dr. Danny. So
with that, go fuck yourself.
Just kidding.
It was nice knowing all of you.
We would love to have you back again if you ever want to.
Yeah, we got to find some content for like generational religious trauma.
I think that'd be a good one.
So
that'd be a good.
Yeah, I'm gonna think on that. What would be a good thing to share about that?
The Exorcist.
I know I'm watching The Haunting of Hill House right now, and I've heard Midnight Mass has some Catholic. That's very Catholic though, and I don't know as much about that. But I'll think on it. Think about some stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, no. It was. I don't know. We'll come up with some stuff. We'll chat about folks, but that's going to come with Doc because I want to get to that topic.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, it was beautiful spending an afternoon with you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. Like I said before, go see all of our great collaborators in our link tree. We also have merch, wearing it right here. And also, hey, you're different, but not less.
Not less. Unless you are, then you are.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's that. Good advertisement there. Also,
I do think merch that says neuro spicy would be a real hit.
Oh, we got it.
We got it.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
I'll have to check it out.
I'll check it out.
We got all the neuro stuff. Anything
we
that has
might
the word
need
neuro, we're like, we got it.
We got plenty of neuro stuff. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And then also go check out all of our other podcasts that we've done. We have a lot of great content on there. So go check it out. And with that, I'm Spencer. That's Nas. This is the Different Spectrums podcast.
All right, everyone. Much love, much respect. And remember to take care of yourself.
Or don't.
And that's completely up to you. Take care. You keep messing it up, Diane. Shut up. Jesus.
Diane.
Diane. I said Diane. Danny, I've been wanting to say Diane the whole fucking podcast. The dyslexia is terrible. Every time. That's why I kept calling you Doc. Because I'm like, Diane? Diane.
I thought you were just doing a Marty McFly fucking.
No, man. I'm autistic as shit and I can't say your name.
Doc.
Doc works. It's fine.
I know.
Doc,
all right,
you're
everyone.
telling me it's 9:45? Damn, I'm late for school.
And